Hello, my name is Stephen Thomas, and today our focus is on paleontology, the study of fossils and ancient life forms. Now, apparently only 1% of things that have ever lived are around us today. The other 99% have died out, and we can see them buried and fossilized in the rocks. And they come in different layers, like a black forest cake. And the lowest layers are the oldest fossils, and the top layers are the newest fossils, the last animals that have been around on Earth. But if you want to become a paleontologist or dabble in it like I do, then we need to learn the order of the epochs which have occurred in the past. So I've got a mnemonic for us to remember, and I've written it out here with the epoch or era just underneath it, and we can associate it, the sentence which helps us remember our mnemonic sentence, with each epoch in turn. So let's have a look at the sentence which is going to help us remember all the geological ages. The Precambrian order seems devoid of carbon permanent traces. It is just a creche type quagmire. Now, I know that you can remember that sentence. It might take you a few minutes, it might even take you a day or two of just remembering it every now and then. But this is the sentence you must remember. The Precambrian order seems devoid of carbon permanent traces. It is just a creche type quagmire. Let's examine the sentence which I've written in white chalk. The Precambrian, that's the first era or epoch, seems devoid of carbon permanent traces. You're not going to find much life in that lowest rock, and that's the majority of Earth's history, is just totally without fossils. It is devoid of carbon permanent traces. It is just a creche type quagmire. So these ancient rocks are just a creche type. A creche is where you have babies. Quagmire, a marsh. So the Precambrian rocks and era is just a sort of a swampy sea which is brewing and incubating the later life forms which are going to explode onto Earth's history in the Cambrian era. So let's remember the sentence, and I'm just going to show you how we associate all the different, rather complicated words with our original sentence. So the Precambrian, P for pre, Cambrian, order, Ordovician, seems, Silurian, devoid of carbon, here's our carbon, stands for carboniferous, permanent, Permian era, traces, Triassic, now you've heard of Triassic maybe. It is just stands for Jurassic, a creche, Cretaceous, type, Tertiary, quagmire, Quaternary. And there you go. So if you remember this original sentence, now when you read about the Ordovician, you can go, the Precambrian order seems devoid of carbon permanent traces. Ordovician is order. So it's the Precambrian Ordovician order. And it'll tell you where in geological time this sits. So here are the various eras or epochs in paleontological history. First comes the Precambrian. Then the explosion of life, multicellular life, comes in the Cambrian. Then we get the Ordovician. Then we get the Silurian era, Devonian, Carboniferous, Permian, Triassic, Jurassic. Now it is here in our Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous that we get basically the age of the dinosaurs. And then following the age of the dinosaurs, it just suddenly ends, all the dinosaurs die out, and then we get our Tertiary and Quaternary, which is the age of the mammals. So mammals, these three, the reptiles. Before that we get the therapsids, which are like a mammal-like reptile. Before that, most of the life is in the seas, so it's sort of here in the Cambrian. is laid down the foundation of all the later life forms. So we're going to get things like our mollusks, which are the snail, squid family, octopus, our worms, worms, you all know what worms are. We get all the worm family, earthworms and so on. We get our starfish families that are laid out. We even get the chordates, the things with a beginning of a backbone type of, or not a backbone, but a brain in the head and a cord that goes along their back. So all the different types of animals are being laid down here in the Cambrian. In the Precambrian, just at the end there, we were getting things that look more like a leaf or a quilt. And they're not even sure whether these were plants or animals. Ediacaran biota, they call it. These plant animals, what were they? They looked like little symmetrical leaves with parallel veins. They're multicellular. They're the first multicellular organisms that you find in the deepest rocks. But before that, in the Precambrian, you had all the algae producing oxygen. So the world is getting more and more oxygen in. But there's nothing much in the way of fossils. There's barely any algae fossils. But these algae were churning away in the Precambrian and creating an oxygen-rich environment so that in the Cambrian, you could get multicellular organisms explode on the scene in all their great variety and so on. So, take the time and learn this mnemonic. And if you just learn that one sentence, you will be able from then on to associate this sentence with each word stands for a different in sequence order of geological time. And that's the way that you can remember the orders of these different epochs.